Radioactive wasps were discovered at a South Carolina nuclear facility. The WNBA game came to a halt after someone threw a sex toy onto the court. And missionaries are using secret audio devices in the jungle to convert Brazil's isolated peoples. These are the weird stories on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast on the internet. Yeah, I'm on there. Radioactive wasps were discovered at a South Carolina nuclear facility. Radioactive wasps, yes, you read that right. These wasps were found at a nuclear facility in South Carolina. They're radioactive, these wasps. They're crazy. According to the report from the U.S. Department of Energy, just before 2 p.m. last week, I'm just going to give you the details. But I'm going to have to change my tone now and do this in a much more serious vein, because it is very serious. After all, we're talking about some radioactive bugs here. Could take down all of humanity. A radiological control operations discovered a wasp nest on a post near a tank at the Savannah River site in Aiken. This is a nuclear facility. Officials say the nest was sprayed to kill the wasps. The nest was probed and discovered to be 100,000 DPMs, which is moderately high levels of radiation, and that's the concern. This wasp nest is considered, quote, on-site legacy radioactive contamination, and it's not related to a loss of contamination control. Legacy radioactive contamination is lingering radioactive contamination resulting from past activities. All right, English here. What are we talking about? Are you understanding any of this? I need to find a more English-speaking article. Hold on. Oh, this seems more friendly to the brain. Workers at a site in South Carolina that once made key parts for nuclear bombs in the U.S. have found a radioactive wasp nest, but officials said there is no danger to anyone. Nothing to see here. All it is a radioactive wasp nest. Move along, move along. We're also selling some land if you're interested. All of this land that you see. Don't worry, the crops will grow big, very big. It says here, employees who routinely check the radiation levels at this Savannah River site near Aiken found the wasp nest on a post near some tanks where liquid nuclear waste is stored. So they were living right next to some nuclear waste, and that's why we have a nuclear wasp nest. And no doubt somewhere out there is Waspy Man, doing everything that Waspy Man can. He's totally radioactive all day long. He glows at night. You can see his dong. It's nuclear wasp man. All right. That was ridiculous. And I kind of regret it. But I'm leaving it in. Leaving it in. It might be a bad choice. Last time I decided to leave it in, I almost got canceled out of the closet. Okay, so the nest had radiation levels, they say, 10 times what is allowed by federal regulations. Yeah, wasp nests are highly regulated, and the feds do not allow too much radiation levels in the wasp nests. They don't want radioactive wasps. What else did you find on the site? Some radioactive frisbees? Oh, they're great. You can play frisbee golf at night because they glow. The workers sprayed the nest, guys. No fear. They sprayed the nest with insect killer. Hey, if the wasps aren't there anymore, what's the point of spraying the insect killer on the nest? Maybe you ought to get out there with your suits on, with your biohazard gloves, and go find these radioactive wasps. How about that, nuclear assistance? But no, we're not going to go find the radioactive wasps and remove them from the vicinity. Instead, we're just going to spray the nest where they used to be. They also removed it and disposed of it as radioactive waste. It says no wasps were found. Not a one. So, rest easy. Because right now there's a whole colony of radioactive wasps out there somewhere in the world putting the active in radioactive sun. But never fear, guys. The report that they have here says there was no leak from the waste tanks. The nest was likely radioactive through what's called on-site legacy radioactive contamination, what I've referred to earlier. It's from the residual radioactivity left from when the site was fully operational, so it's not from a leaking tank. What does it matter? They have 10 times the acceptable radiation levels. It matters not the source. There's some radioactive wasps out there. What I want to know is what you're going to do about it. We know the answer to that, though. It's going to be nothing. The radioactive wasps are going to go out there and procreate. And they're going to bite some people. They're going to sting some people, and just hope that someone doesn't turn into the Toxic Avenger at that point. They haven't asked me yet what to do. I know exactly what to do if you want to stop these radioactive wasps. What you need to do is just release the radioactive praying mantises that will hunt down the radioactive wasps and bite their heads off. That's how you handle that. You're welcome. That was free. A WNBA game got very wild as a sex toy flew onto the court in the middle of play. And some people that witnessed it said this was the most compelling action all night in that WNBA game. Jonesy, are you going to make fun of the WNBA and the level of excitement? That's low-hanging fruit, Jonesy, and you know it. Yeah, you're right. It is. It's a low-hanging fruit. You're right. And I'm not going to do it for the rest of the segment. It says Tuesday night's WNBA showdown between the Atlanta Dream and the Golden State Valkyries had fans really locked in, all 12 of them, until things took a bizarre turn late in the fourth quarter. With just about a minute left on the clock, we're talking crunch time here, guys. The score was 23-25. I'm sorry. This game was interrupted when an unexpected object flew from the stands. Came from somewhere in the crowd, and the object landed right on the court at Gateway Center Arena in College Park, Georgia. Now, at first, it says folks weren't sure exactly what they were seeing. But once the object hit the hardwood and it bounced around a few times across the floor, it became very clear what this was. Someone had thrown a lime green sex toy right onto the court. You know the kind. Starts with a D, ends in an ildo. It was big, it was rubbery, it was lime green, it was bouncy. It was bouncy, all on the floor. It became very clear this game would have to stop because this was an adult toy. People were shocked. The broadcast camera quickly cut away because heaven forbid the children see a sex toy. That would be monstrous. But before the cameras could cut away, fans watching at home caught a glimpse of the wild moment where the green dong bounced along, spun around like a little lime green wiener. It's a little key lime wiener. Oh, there's a photo of it here. Well, it's not very big, but you can see it looks Celtics green. Oh, I'm a big Celtics fan. Did anyone claim the Celtics dildo? I'd like that. I'll put that with my sports memorabilia. And this is my Larry Bird shirt, and this is my signed Reggie Lewis basketball. And here are tickets to a playoff game. And right here is the Celtics dildo that was thrown at a WNBA game. Now, of course, the announcers had to make a comment about this because everybody saw it. This is what the announcers said. Inappropriate. Get them out of here, whoever it is. Well, now they're making an assumption that a fan threw it onto the floor during play. I mean, how do we know it didn't fall out of one of the players while they were running down the court? I'm terrible. I shouldn't say it. Now, the article says, you know what's crazier? That's not the craziest thing. You know what's crazier? The referees didn't stop the game right away, even though the lime green dong had bounced across the center of the play. Play continued for a little bit until the Valkyries turned the ball over. I guess they were waiting for a whistle. That's when a police officer finally stepped in. What do we have here, huh? This looks like an illegal sex toy. There's no place for this. The police officer picked up the object and escorted it off the court. Escorted? I don't know, you could escort a dildo off the court, but hey, this police officer escorted it. Like it's a person. Who wrote this? I just like to picture the police officer tapping the sex toy on the tip. Just say, hey, could you come with me? Please come with me. Please step aside and come with me. I need to escort you off the court. Now it says, despite the chaos, the Golden State Valkyries managed to hold off the Dream and snag the W with a close 77-75 victory. So close. They give some stats of some of the players here. I don't think we need to get into that. After the game, though, the players reflected on this sex toy incident. They were still in disbelief. Here's a quote from one of the players. Once we found out what it was, I guess we just started laughing. I've never seen anything like that. Well, I'm sure you've seen something like that, but not seen something like that in the middle of a basketball court. This was a moment that definitely had folks talking, but it also raised some safety concerns. Ooh, boy, safety concerns. Yeah, you can't have dildos bouncing around at your feet when you're running. With athletes sprinting, cutting, and diving, anything flying onto the court, even something ridiculous, could lead to serious injury. Well, no one was hurt. The moment served as a reminder that fan behavior matters. Throwing anything onto the court is reckless and dangerous. You know who you are. Stop it. No matter how funny it might seem, don't you throw your sex toys onto the court. Yeah, can't you be a normal fan and throw a hat on the ice in the middle of a hockey game, or an octopus, or a catfish? You know they throw these things on the rink during certain instances. They throw an octopus onto the ice. I mean, can you imagine? It is one of the strangest things I've ever seen. And I'm going to say it right here on Weird AF News. I'm going to draw a line in the sand and say that if you're the type of person that would sneak a large octopus under your clothing into a sporting event, you're a real sicko. You know that? You got issues, man. You need to talk to a therapist, because that is lewd and lascivious behavior in my book. Sneaking an octopus down your pants into a stadium of some sort. How do you think the octopus feels? The story that octopus is going to have for its friends. You're not going to believe this. Some weirdo brought me under his clothing. Yeah, right under his shirt. I was connected to his hairy belly for a couple of quarters. And then they scored some goals, and then I got chucked right onto the ice. I mean, it was horrible. It was so cold. Very bright lights. There were very sharp skates around me. I didn't know if I was going to live to make it to tell the tale. But here I am. Nobody ate me. They just clapped. They clapped for me. I felt like a superstar. I felt like I was on America's Got Talent, except for I was an octopus on the ice. I tried to wave at the crowd, but my tentacles were stuck to the ice, like when you stick your tongue to ice, that's how the tentacles were. But anyways, I felt pretty majestic in that moment, like they were cheering me, not so much the players, but me. And scene. That was me acting out the personification of a very confused octopus, but grateful after being thrown onto the ice during a professional NHL hockey game, which does happen. I forgot to mention this earlier. Let me wrap it up with this. I have seen a dildo thrown onto the field of an NFL game. It was between the Patriots and the Buffalo Bills a few years ago. I can't remember when. Someone threw it into the end zone, and it bounced around. And I was watching the game at the time, and it provided a lot of entertainment. I'm not going to lie. It was very funny. I thought it was one of the funniest things you could do at an NFL football game. So this isn't the first time a sex toy has been chucked into play. I'm just saying that for the record. And I'll also say for the record, on top of that fans in Buffalo are out of their minds. Missionaries are using secret audio devices set up in the jungle in order to evangelize some of Brazil's isolated peoples. Missionary groups are using audio devices in protected territories of the rainforest. They're trying to attract and convert isolated and recently contacted indigenous people in the Amazon jungle. Oh, right. I didn't think I'd be reading a story like this in 2025. Is this still happening? There are missionaries visiting the Amazon to convert people? I didn't know this was still going on, all right? And now these missionaries are using high technology, audio devices. What are they, just put speakers around the jungle? Just reading the Bible through a speaker? Chanting? What is going on here? Is it in English? Got so many questions. It says here they have recently discovered solar-powered devices reciting biblical messages in Portuguese and Spanish, and they have appeared among members of the Corubo people in the Javari Valley near the Brazil-Peru border. The people are called the Corubo. I mean, do they even speak Portuguese or Spanish? Corubo, they probably have their own language, you dummies. I mean, do your research. Know your audience. What's wrong with you? Drones have also been spotted by Brazilian state agents in charge of protecting the areas. These gadgets are raising concerns about illegal missionary activities, despite strict government measures designed to safeguard isolated indigenous groups. Well, you need to step up your game because you're allowing these missionaries to get in there and set up speakers, fly drones. What's wrong with you? Shoot down the Jesus drones. Never thought I'd say a sentence like that. Just blast that Jesus drone out of the sky. What's wrong with you? And then take the audio devices and just load up Spotify and just play some really good, like, old school hip hop. I'm sure the indigenous people would like that. You know, a little Blackstreet, No Diggity, you know, this kind of thing. Maybe some Biggie. I mean, I'm a big fan of Biggie. They might enjoy Biggie or Jay-Z. I'm going real East Coast now, but the West Coast is pretty good too. I like me some Ice Cube. How about a little Montel Jordan? Something for the honeys. Well, they might enjoy some of that. I mean, there's probably some honeys in their tribe, I'd imagine, right? Sexy ladies with a bone through their nose. Ugh, heck yeah. Now, the article says this is not thought to be the first recent attempt by missionary groups to reach isolated and uncontacted communities in the Javari Valley. Shortly before the pandemic, a group of U.S. and Brazilian citizens affiliated to evangelical churches were allegedly reported to be planning to contact the Karubo people. It was claimed they had used some seaplanes to map trails and locate longhouses. Longhouses is, I guess, where they live in longhouses. Longhouses are good, better than a short house, of course. Now, it says these missionary groups were prohibited from entering the indigenous territory by court order. Now it has emerged that missionaries have returned to the Jafari Valley and surrounding towns, such as Atalaia do Norte, with a new tool. Their new tool. This was a device, yellow and gray mobile phone-sized unit. It mysteriously first appeared in a Karubo village in the Jafari Valley rather recently. This gadget, which recites the Bible and some inspirational talks by an American Baptist, can do so indefinitely, even off-grid, thanks to a solar panel that it's hooked up to. Up to 7 of the units were reported by local people. Oh, there's a little photo of the device. It looks like a small, I guess like kind of like a cell phone, a bit like an old-school cell phone. The Brazilian government does not permit proselytizing in the Karubo's territory. Of course not. This policy dates from 1987, and it stipulates that the isolated groups must initiate any contact themselves. This is a stance that made Brazil a pioneer in respecting indigenous self-determination. They say that the device that actually reached the Karuba area is called Messenger and is distributed by the Baptist organization called In Touch Ministries, based in Atlanta, Georgia. It is now a curiosity in the possession of the Karubo community matriarch named Maya. So I wonder if Maya's listening to the messages of Jesus. Oh, at least somebody's going to be saved over there. It's going to be Maya because she listened to the words, the Bible, the biblical phrases. That's what you need, right? And unless you get to hear those words, those magical words, you're never going to make it into heaven. You have to also say those magical words as well. And you have to let us put up billboards that say Jesus saves on your property. If you could, that'd be appreciated. Yeah, and lastly, if you could download our app, that would be appreciated. It's called The Light of the Lord, and you can open up a follower profile. That would be really cool. And then, you can speak to other followers in the app, and you can play the game in there. There's a game in there. It's kind of like Pokemon, but instead of finding the Pokemon, you find the tablets. It's called Find Tablets. They interviewed a guy here named Seth Gray, who works for In Touch Ministries. He's the chief operating officer. He confirmed that the organization uses them. He says he personally delivered 48 of the devices to the YY people in the Brazilian Amazon some years ago. They contained religious content in their language and Portuguese. The YY have engaged with U.S. missionaries who have contacted and proselytized among communities in the northern Amazon for decades, according to this anthropologist named Catherine. Gray said, however, that the messenger should not be present in the Javari Valley in violation of Brazilian policy. We don't go anywhere we're not allowed, he said. We don't go anywhere we're not allowed. Come on, you think we would? Were you going to lie? We're going to lie? No, we would never. Yeah, and are we going to believe this? No, we're not going to believe this. Their whole thing is converting. That's what they live for. That's what they do. They try to save the non-saved. That's their primary purpose in life, these missionaries. They're going to lie all day long. Of course, they put these out there. And it's only a matter of time before they themselves are actually there with the people in the jungle with their book in hand. It's very, very silly. And I'm not going to feel sorry for them when they get their jungle justice. Some of them, like that Sentinel Island guy that got, I assume they boiled him and he ate him. Remember the guy that tried to get on Sentinel Island with his Bibles? Didn't make it.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hello, my friends. How are you, my loyal listeners? I appreciate you spending some time with your buddy Jonesy. Let's give thanks and praise, shall we, as I typically do in the outro. I like to give thanks and praise. First up is Jeff S. Jeff S. bought me some coffees off my website, weirdafnews.com. And when you buy me coffees, you can write a little love note. Jeff wrote this. That truly made my night that you read my review at the end of last night's show, Jonesy. Also, thank you for the kind words. I would like to add to my review that you do excellent impressions. You knocked it out of the park with the swing-a-thon monster truck announcement impression, especially with the disclaimer at the end. I don't know what I was doing, more of laughing or hitting the Yeah, I do impressions, Jeff. Can I talk and read? No, very little. Okay, let me try that again. I don't know what I was doing more, Jonesy, laughing or hitting the rewind button. But keep doing what you're doing, Jonesy. So appreciate it. Well, that's a really nice message from Jeff, who likes my impressions. Isn't that lovely? And Jeff not only bought me coffees, but also gave me a really sweet review, by the way. It's very thoughtful. It was a great one. Thank you so much, Jeff S. Awesome guy. Some coffees were also bought for me by Imani and Nikki, who have bought me coffees before. Imani and Nikki wrote me a little note. It says, still been following you since the beginning, Jonesy, and just wanted to show a little support from a fellow entertainer that truly knows the struggle of hustling, especially on limited caffeine. Sometimes you drive us nuts, and sometimes you get us cracking up. Either way, we know the workload that's involved in podcasting / content creating can be overwhelming. Just wanted to say keep it up. Keep trying to pronounce words or names you don't know. The comedy writes itself. We send our love and cheers. Good luck with your life, man. That's a very loving message and supportive from Imani and Nikki. So that really made me smile as well. Thank you so much. I'm a lucky guy. I get people that write me very, very nice love letters and buy me coffees. Isn't that great? Yeah, I've had a bit of a stressful day, and so this really made my day. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Got a website, weirdafnews.com. That's where you can go to join the Patreon or buy coffees. And my email is funnyjones@gmail.com if you would like to send me any stories. Tomorrow's Florida Friday, so I'm going to do an episode that's solely about Florida. So any stories you come across out of Florida from this week, please send them over. funnyjones@gmail.com is the website. Appreciate that. And my Instagram is @funnyjones if you want to slide them into my DMs. That's right, baby. Slide them in, baby. And good luck with your life, man. Your life. It's yours.